In this video, I'm going to show you how to create these super aesthetic backgrounds. And just to quickly mention, these backgrounds will be available to download in the description down below for free, completely for free. Just go ahead, go down below, get it, and use it for yourself. All right, so let's get started. First, what we're gonna do is create a solid background and make it kind of like grayish, like this. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a rectangle like this. Bring down the stroke width a little bit, and yeah. Also, we can actually remove the stroke. We don't need the stroke. And what we need to do is we're going to add a wiggle path to this rectangle. And then once we open up basically the contents and the wiggle path, we just change up a couple of these settings. Size to 770, detail to 1. We change the point to smooth. We do the wiggles per second to 0.3. And we just leave the correlation on 50%. And you can see it is already moving really good. And what we want to add on top of this rectangle is basically a 4-color gradient. And what we're going to do now is basically just adjust the colors. So first we're going to do yellow, then we can do orange, but this is completely up to you on how you would like to have your gradients to look. I just find these are very, very satisfying and really nice to look at. We can also change up the position of the gradients a little bit to give it a little bit more interesting color look. And now what we're going to add is a Gaussian blur to this video. And we can just set this to 130 and also place this above the 4-color gradient, and also turn off the repeat edge pixels so you don't get these edges here. Yeah, this is what it looks like so far. It looks pretty cool, but what we need to add now are some really cool looking effects that kind of like bring this to life and makes it super aesthetic. So we're going to add an adjustment layer, and what we're going to do is add a posterize, and we're going to set this to 6. Now this looks super bad, I know, but that's why we also going to add noise. Boom. And set the noise to 23%, and also just check off this use color noise box, and also set this above the posterize. And it already looks a little bit better, but it's still not looking as good as it can be. So we're going to add a couple more effects. So we're going to add a glow effect to our adjustment layer, just place it on top. And we're going to change this to 80%. And we're going to change the intensity to 1, leave all as it is, but we're going to hold Alt and just click on the glow radius. And we're going to type in here, wiggle 2 and comma 50. Yeah, you can just adjust it here, just bring it more up as well, like whatever you feel like looking good for you. However, it can also recommend you to maybe just bring down the intensity or bring up the intensity and how you like it. And after that, we're going to add another effect. It is the brightness and contrast effect. We're just going to add it on the very bottom here. We're just going to hold Alt and click on the brightness and just type in wiggle to around 30. And what this does is just gives it a nice flickering. If you see that, like the brightness flickering, it looks beautiful. And yeah, this is basically the first one. Like what we need to do now is just maybe name the layers. And also, if you're following along with the tutorial and you actually want to learn it and want to learn it the fastest way possible, you make all these things in one After Effects project file, as we need to copy these effects for future backgrounds that I'm going to show you in this video as well. So mostly I'm just going to use this effect here for most of the backgrounds moving along in this video. So just a quick note, make it in one file so you can actually reuse it and don't waste time basically on, making all these effects over and over again. And yeah, this is what it looks like. This is the first one. For the second one, let's go ahead and create a solid background again with some little bit of darker gray here, or some sort of black. I prefer at least the dark gray. And then we create a circle. When you actually hold shift, you can create a round circle, and then we're just gonna, of course, align it to the middle position. And then we're just gonna add a fill to this circle and disable the stroke. And then we're gonna add a 4-color gradient to it and just make these ones appear more in the middle, like this. And then for this one, we can go for this really dark orange or black. For the second one, for the top right, we could go for orange, and then just bring it more near. This one as well, and this one as well. And this one could be more orange as well, more reddish orange. And the blue one could be a little bit more bright, maybe just a little bit like this. Like this looks good. I would bring the black more near, like this. Looks pretty cool, in my opinion. So this is the shape that we are looking for. And then what we're gonna do next is we're going to go to the middle around like this and then create a rectangle like this. Boom. And what we're gonna do is go here, select this shape that we just created, go to layer, layer styles, and then add a drop shadow. And then we're also gonna back to the layer, still select it, and also add an inner glow to this shape layer. And then we go to blending options, go to the advanced blending and the fill opacity. We set this to 0. And we go to the drop shadow and we set the opacity to 40%. And we set the size to 200%. So it looks a little bit like this. And then we go to the inner glow. We set this to 10. So we set the size to 50 and we choose the color to white. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna duplicate this shape layer. And from the bottom one, we're gonna actually remove the layer styles that we just created. And we're also just gonna deactivate these real quick. And then we're also gonna name this one bottom glass. And we're gonna name this one top glass. And guys, stay focused. This all will make sense in just a second. And we just name this one also circle graphics. And the background is just background. Boom. And we're gonna select the background and all right. And then we're going to take the circle graphics background and the background, and we're gonna actually pre-compose this and just say graphics for this. What we're gonna next is open the toggle switch mode and then just track matte this to the bottom glass. And we're gonna change this here alpha matte to the luma matte, and then we're gonna duplicate this, and also we're gonna invert this. So this looks like something like this, okay? And what we're gonna do next is add a fast box blur to the second one here. And then we just select the bottom one and we're gonna add a fast box blur effect to this and then change this to 25. And then once we have that, we're just gonna select the top glass and also activate the effects. And these are the same effects I use on the previous gradient. So just a glow, some noise, and some posterize to it with some brightness and contrast. So this is how you recreate the second gradient background with this beautiful like glass effect. And now what we're gonna do is go to the third background. And for the third background, I'm gonna show you how to do this effect, or how you could also just do these effects with these balls in some sort of circles. So for this one, I will create a new solid layer. Let's just make this super deep dark blue like this. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add a circle again, like in the previous background that we did. And we have a circle here. And we're gonna select this shape layer, go to layer, layer styles, and add a gradient overlay to this circle. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a gradient ramp to this beautiful circle. And we're gonna change these colors to around this blue, this beautiful blue. And we're gonna change the color to the background color, like this. We can also add the colors more to this background like this. Also change this to a lighter version if you want to. We're gonna change the ramp shape to radial ramp. And then we're gonna add another effect. It is a Gaussian blur effect and set the blurriness to 150. Now you see it's a little bit weird, but we're just gonna uncheck repeat edge pixels. So it's actually looking really cool. And what we're gonna do next, we're gonna select the shape layer, select this ellipse tool, and then we're gonna change this to tool creates mask. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a mask like this, boom. And then we go into effects, we go into Gaussian blur, and then we go press this little plus icon here, and then we're gonna change this to subtract mode, and then we're gonna increase the feathering, make it a little bit less. Here you can change the effect opacity, how much you would like to have this effect, but just make sure the mask is set to mask 1. Other than that, what we want to do next is basically we're just gonna boom, add a couple more of these to here. What we're gonna do next is basically we're just gonna add a couple more of these to here, a couple more of these balls, I would say. I'm not sure why I'm calling these balls, but yeah. So we're just gonna add a couple more, and we just need to change the gradient ramp. So ultimately what you want to achieve is that it is not too crowded. It has not this crowded feeling, but it's more like this aesthetically pleasing feeling. Kind of like, it looks kind of like a bubble tea, to be honest. You can also just go ahead like this and then just place it like at the bottom if you want to. For this one as well, we can just do another one here, for example, and then just always use the gradient ramp and set it like this. At least the bottom one always to the bottom one, or where you want to basically have this kind of like fading out into the background effect. And this is what it looks like. What we can do now is, this is the middle one. You can actually name this if you actually want to make this effort. Left top, left bottom. This is right top, right middle, I would say. This is the bottom right. And this is the top one. What we can do now is we could just change the colors to, let's say, something more purple. Here, we could go for this one. We could make it more greenish. And for the left bottom one, we could change the color to even something more purple, like this. This looks so aesthetically pleasing, man. And then we could just change this one to also to the cyan blue. And we could make this one at the bottom, for example, right bottom. There we go. Just a little bit more purple-ish rather than the middle one. There we go. So this is what it looks like right now. What we could do now is add an effect to it and call it a day. But what we're gonna add next is we're gonna actually add an adjustment layer, and we're gonna add a Gaussian blur to it as well. And you can just do the Gaussian blur as much as you want. Like, you can just go like, you know, 300, 400, like 500, whatever you would wish. I would just not put this above the effect, or the whole noises just get lost. So make sure the blur is below the effects and on top of all the, you know, the circles or balls that you would wish. You could also create some really cool effects like this as well, where you have, for example, balls like this, and then you could just place them like in the back here and just have like them below the blur in some sort. Right now I would just go ahead and just do it like this. And what we can also do to have some motion in the background is add a null object and just have this one place below here, and select all the circles and parent them to the null object, and then press R on the keyboard to get up the rotation, and just set a rotation keyframe here, and at the end set it to like here, around like this. So yeah, like a small motion in the background where all these things just fade out, if that makes sense. Like they circle around. So it's a really good way to add some motion into the background. You can also just increase this if you want to make it slower. But yeah, this is what it does ultimately. And yeah, this is basically a effect, and this is the effect without the blur. You can bring them more near or more further apart. You can add more, make them smaller, make them bigger as you wish. But I think it's actually necessary as an editor to know these things, especially these really aesthetic looking 5 minutes gradient background hacks. So with that being said, this was the third background. Now let's head on and do the fourth one. All right, let's get started with the fourth background, where you have all these 3 triangles. So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a dark blue background. Also just copy and pasted the same effect as we did for the other 3 backgrounds as well. And after doing that, we are going to create a rectangle like this. Boom. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna actually scale this up a little bit like this, and we bring it a little bit more to the middle like this. You can also make this a little bit more wide or a little bit more height. There we go. Yeah, I like this. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just copy and paste it, like duplicate it, make it smaller, and then just bring it here and scale it up a little bit as well. We can make this a little bit more less tall and just have it crossed here a little bit more, but it's up to you on what you think looks good. I think this one looks perfect. We're just gonna copy and paste it again, and we're gonna paste these 2 that we just created. So this is the left front rectangle, and this is the right front, and this is the left back. And we're gonna add this into the back here, right below the front ones, like this. We're gonna add a gradient ramp to these beautiful backgrounds, and we're gonna make these blue, and we're gonna make these black and blue. We're gonna make a little bit more, like, less dark and more on, I would say, the brighter blue side. Let's make it like this, because once we add the glow effect, this is gonna be already really good. So we can make it, of course, a little bit more blue, like a little bit more dark blue, but we don't need to, because it will all be taken care of later on once we add the effects. But we're gonna just copy and paste it and add it to all these rectangles. For example, the right one, we're just gonna change the spacing here. So what we need to do is we're gonna add this to the left here and add the black one to the right here. And we're just gonna change basically the positioning of this color gradient. Like, for example, like this. This looks really good. I want this left side to be lit up, kind of like this. And for example, for the back one, I want this side to be more lit up than this side. So just gonna change the black color here more to this side. And we're gonna do for the right one, for the left front one, we just change the gradient ramp from this to bring this side, this right side here, more, I would say, to the, like, make it more blue rather than this left side here, to create this really nice looking visual. So I'm just gonna zoom in, boom, and let's see what it looks like. Yeah, like this, around like this. I like that. So what we do focus on is bringing basically the colors more to the middle and just have them, you know, focused on the middle. And now if we turn on the effects, the glow, the noise, the posterize, then we get this effect. And with the glow, of course, it just makes so much more sense. It looks so much more cool. And what we could do now to spice it more up, we're gonna add a null object and parent these three triangles to the null object. And we're gonna basically add a position and a scale keyframe and go to the end, let's say, or let's just say 30 seconds. We're gonna scale in and move to the right, move it to the right, the whole picture. So we get this really subtle movement into this picture. So a little bit of motion into this picture. So we zoom in kind of like this. So we kind of like zoom in like this, boom, in and to the left. So yeah, this was the fourth background. Let's go to the fifth one. All right, so the fifth background is a little bit more effect heavy, I would say, but nevertheless, let's get started. So let's create a new solid, also something around a very dark gray, and boom. And let's just make a circle, like a really proper circle, and align it. And let's remove the fill and just basically bring up the stroke as much as possible, like 130 or 150 is a good one, and just change it to white. You can also decrease the scale of this and just bring up the stroke a little bit more, like 185 looks really good. So this is what we want to get, and let's just name this circle background, and there we go. What we're going to add first is Gaussian blur, and we're going to add a 39 Gaussian blur, or like 40, and of course remove the repeat edge pixels. After that, we're going to add a 4 color gradient to it, boom, and we're going to change it to the colors that we would like to have. For example, we could also just do dark blue this time, something really dark here, more light here, more dark, and maybe something black, or this one could also be more bright. There we go, boom. And what we're going to add now is a couple effects. We're going to add twirl, boom, and then we're going to add CC lens, boom, and then we're going to also add CC scale wipe, boom. Now we're going to change a couple settings first. So we're going to change the angle to around 47 here. You can, of course, just experiment with that on your own. We're going to bring it down, the CC lens, to around -50. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keyframe the scale wipe here. And what we're going to do is just bring it up. And also, if you have this issue with having these lines here, we're just going to bring up the CC lens to 500, the size to 500, and then you see it's already fixed. And then we can just stretch this out as much as we want. For example, we could go with 30, then we can go a little bit further ahead, and we just can do 50, and we can go further ahead and just do 10. And you can just copy this and just paste it, boom. And we're gonna add next this CC smear, boom. And we're gonna change this up to around 450, and then we're gonna, of course, duplicate the scale wipe, and then bring it all down. And we're gonna change now so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna change the direction of the second scale wipe to the opposite one, or to the one that you would like to have, but for me it's the opposite. And we're gonna just change it up to as much as we want, like 90. We can go a little bit down below a little bit as well, bring it more forward, and then we can go ahead and just bring it up to a little bit more, and we can just copy and paste these and add them onto our timeline as well. And voila, there we go, it is done. And now we can just add the effects, and we can also make them a little bit more short as well, so it doesn't take too much time. And what you will notice is however, I have a really strong MacBook, it is loading pretty slow. So what I would suggest is basically just make it once and then render it out, or just take the ones I've uploaded into the description, download them, and just use the rendered out version. Otherwise, it will take a lot of time to render out these animations. With that being said, this is the 5th background. Let's move on to the 6th one. Before we continue to the 6th background, I also highly encourage you to join the Discord, and also check out the assets folder here in the Discord, or also maybe the resources, where I always plug the resources that I use or that I'm looking out for or I'm mentioning in the video. And also feel free to post your videos, your work into the editing feedback channel, and I always give the highest amount of feedback that I can give to you, so you will be taken care of big time in this Discord. And also, if you have any suggestions to do, for example, I get suggested to do a YouTube channel presentation and how to showcase a YouTube channel the best way. So that is the next video that I'm doing, so stay tuned for that. And or maybe if you have even some questions that I should cover in a video, you can always post it into the video suggestions to this one channel. On that note, let's continue to the 6th background. So first we're going to start off by making a background and adding a 4-color gradient to it. And let's make this blue, and let's make this a little bit, let's make this one a little bit orange, or let's just make it a little bit of peach color. And this one is also blue. Can make this a little bit more red. I like this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna keyframe all the points for all those colors at the start of our composition, and we just move on to 2 seconds, and then we will select the 4-color gradient and then just move it out like this. Voila. I mean, by all means, you don't have to move out all of these completely. It's just fine if you have them out of the sight, so to make it look more, I would say, interesting. Okay. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add an adjustment layer to this composition. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a turbulent displace to this adjustment layer in the middle. I'm gonna just call it, let's just call it displace for now. I can close this one down. And what we want to do is set the displacement to twist, and set the amount to 100, and set the size to 400. And now what we're gonna do is gonna hold Alt and just click here on the evolution, and we're gonna just type in time star 200, and this is how it looks. Now you can also just change it up to bulge, or to even something else here in the list, some vertical displacement, whatever you feel like looks good for you. And one thing that we have to fix first is also we get these black, I would say, patches in this background, and for that we just have to use a motion tile and add it also to the adjustment layer, and add an output width to, let's say, 300, and again 300, or you can also go 350 and 350, and what you want to do is ultimately just press mirror edges and get this above the turbulent displace. And now it is all gone. What motion tile ultimately does is, for example, if you deactivate it first, just scale it down. what it does is when you scale this one down, you see it is just this size. What motion dial does is basically just adds the same picture again and again, and if you mirror the edges, it just mirrors whatever it is here on the edge. So it's basically showing like how should I explain it the best way, but yeah, it mirrors the edges pretty much. So I've used this effect on cameras before. Once we just zoomed in at the start of the video, it is a really cool effect. But I'm gonna remove this one now and set this back to 100 and activate these two here. So yeah, this is what it looks like with the motion dial and the turbulent displace. And as I said, you can just change it, but I like it on twist. And then we're gonna turn on the effects. Yeah, and if you look at it, it looks super awesome. I think this is probably the one background that everyone can use for their project, like 100%. Like, it is one of the best looking backgrounds, I think. Like, you can just also make the color changes super quick. For example, we can have red and this one green, or like this. I like this as well. Maybe make it a little more like this. So yeah, you can change the colors super fast and it looks amazing. I kid you not, this number 6 is probably one of the, I would say, most favorite of mine, which you can use for every project. You just have to basically change up the colors like this. Even like this. I like this a lot. Even this looks cool. Experiment on your own and see what you like the most. And with that being said, let's continue with background number 7. Next, we're going to create this awesome looking background. This is one of my favorites out of the whole list. And yeah, let's get started. So first we need to have a background again, and we're gonna also again add a gradient to the background like this. And now you can see you can just move it around here. So yeah, I'm gonna just move this one here, and then I'm going to add colors to the gradient. Let's make this one a little bit more purple, this one a little bit more blue, and this one can be a little bit more bright. And we're just gonna keyframe all the points again and basically just go at the end of our composition. Let's just say our composition would be 10 seconds. We just go here. We're gonna also just crop down the composition to 10 seconds like this. It's just easier to work with. And here we're just gonna take these and we're just gonna move it a little bit around like this, for example. I like this. So purple just here. But you can also just experiment with this and just move it around as you would wish. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add a twirl effect to the background like this and make the angle 1x. And set the twirl radius to 15. At the start of the composition, we do set a keyframe for the twirl radius. And we go to the end and set this one to 30. So at the end, we have like a subtle movement like this. But you notice we again have these black patches here, so we're gonna add a motion tile. To remove these black patches again. But let's just say we need 150 and 150 and mirror the edges, and also just place the motion tile always on top. But yeah, if you have any more patches, you can also just add 300 and 300 to the output weight and height. So in that case, you don't have any issues at all. What we're going to add now is a new adjustment layer, and we need to add a wave warp on top of the background. We can change this one to circle, for example, and you see, and change the height, for example, to 500 and to 40. What I'm going to do is set this one to 460 and set a keyframe here at the wave width. And we're going to end up our composition and set this to 660. And also set the wave speed to 0.2. What I'm gonna do next is we're gonna copy and paste the motion tile on top of our wave warp like this. And now we have it almost done. What could you do now is basically just change up the direction of our wave warp in order to achieve the best results or the results that you want. For example, we could do 45 degrees here. It looks perfect. And what you could also add is just a couple of effects again, for example, with the glow, the noise, and the posterize. And then this is what it looks like at the end. So that was the 7th background. Let's move on to number 8. All right, let's get started with background number 8. And for this one, we have a background solid layer, and we're gonna add a 4-color gradient to this again. And we're gonna make the first one blue, the second one, we're gonna make it a little bit purple. We can make this a little bit more bright. And we're gonna make this one black. And the last one we're gonna make red and bring it a little bit more closer. And we're gonna also bring this one a little bit more to the top and this one to the bottom. This one out to the side. So it looks around like this. This is a really good setup. And you will find out why I placed these like the way I did. But first what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a point, we're gonna add a hold Alt and click on this point here for the red color. And we're gonna add a wiggle to it. So let's make it 0.6 and 300. Boom. You can also increase the jitter to 50%. And now what this does is this is moving around the red in the middle, if you see that, from itself, basically. You can also bring down the black a little bit more, a little bit more up. This looks good. And after that, we will fit it 200%. And then we're going to add a wave warp to the background again. We're going to change the wave type to sawtooth. I really like this one. We're going to change the wave height to 160. The wave width to 86. And now what we're going to do is just basically just change this one to minus around 160 is looking good, I think. 160 is good. And just decrease the wave speed by 4, so around 0.6. So we make it around 0.6. And we can also increase the quality a little bit to medium. This is completely fine. And now what we're going to add is a turbulent displace. Boom. And we will also change the size to 195. And also what we're going to add is a motion tile on top of the wave warp and just change it to 150 and mirror the edges. And once you look at that, it is done. This is basically the background. And we can also add some effects. But these effects I added without any glow. So I just turned off the glow and I turned off the brightness and contrast. So it is not, you know, too glowy. Like this one looks a little bit horrible in my opinion. And the brightness is also just a little bit too much in my opinion. So I just turn it off and I also just decrease the posterize a little bit. So it looks really clean and really nice. And this was the 8th background. Let's get started with number 9. And I really love this one, especially with the colors. It just looks so cool. And you can also change this background to a couple darker colors. I just like the way it looks for this explanation. So let's make the first one blue. We can make this one white. We can make this one a little bit more like red. We can make the last one purple actually. I really like this color palette. And also just because we were talking about color palettes, I like to use this website called Coolers for, you know, finding really cool color palettes. And this is not like a sponsored segue or whatever. I actually really like this website. And for example, if you like this color palette, you can just copy all the colors, or you can also, you know, just generate colors, just change it up, remove stuff like that. And you can just, you know, copy and paste it into After Effects. So I really like it. Just last week I used this website to make a color palette for 2 YouTube channels. So if you need any type of inspiration for colors, for like example, if you need a purple color palette, you can just, you know, come here and just, you know, find one yourself or just create one yourself. But sticking back to the video, so we have this color palette right now, and we're going to change the positions now from this to this to this and this. We're going to add a new adjustment layer with a turbulent displace. What we're going to do is we're going to change this to around 40 and change the size around 1000. And we're going to also change the displacement to vertical displacement. And what we're going to do also is we're going to hold Alt and click here on the evolution and set this to time. I think I will keep it at 100 for this video, but you can change it to 200 if you like. And also change the complexity to 10. And for this black patches here, we're gonna of course also add a motion tile, boom, on top of the turbulent displace. And we can just make it 300 for output and height. And we're gonna also turn on mirror edges for the motion tile. And what we're gonna add now is we're gonna add a CC smear again, boom. We've used this before, but we're gonna use it now again. It's going to be super nice. And what we're gonna do ultimately is just set this to -100 and the radius to 1000. I think this looks already really sick. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this from the middle and place this here. We can place this one right below here. So this looks really clean. I like this. I like this. Can also make this one a little bit like this. I like this. This looks cool. And what we'll do is we're gonna duplicate the CC smear. We'll paste this one to here and this one around here, more down. We could also, boom, like this. And we will go to the start of this composition and set for both smears keyframes from and to. We'll go to the end of the composition, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna select the first smear and just gonna change this one a little bit up, and to the second one as well, and we're gonna change up this one as well, like this one. I like this. And this is what it looks like right now. And we're gonna also add now is a twirl effect to the adjustment layer. Set this to -30 angle. When we go to the start, we're gonna make a keyframe for the angle, and we go to the end, and we're gonna also keyframe it, and let's just say we're gonna make it -60. And what we're gonna do also is change the twirl to 50. And this is what it looks like. It looks pretty fire. Now, of course, it has to load, but this looks so cool. What you could also add are some effects to this as well. For example, I just added some glow to it. What I could recommend is like also just to add some noise and posturous time to it if you want to keep it less glowy and less bright. But if you want to go for a glowy look, I don't think, you know, some glow can hurt. And I think it looks really cool with these colors combined. Maybe it's a little bit bright, so you can also just decrease the brightness. But ultimately, it's up to you how you like it the most and how you could use it for your projects. So yeah, enjoy it. What you could also do is just add some more swirl to your project. What you could also do is just add some more smear if you would wish to make it look even more, I would say, is this liquid type of look, just to get that liquid look a little bit more. Like this, for example. Like you could genuinely just go ahead and just change up the smear and see what, you know, suits you the best. And moving on to effects, what I did is I removed the glow because I thought the glow would just be a little bit too bright for, you know, this color palette. But if you wish, you could just enable the glow, make it, you know, less intense, maybe, whatever looks best for you. But yeah, I just think without glow and with glow, both look really good. It is ultimately down to what you think looks best for you or best for your projects. And with that being said, let's move on to the 10th background. Let's add a 4-color gradient to it. Boom. Let's bring these a little bit more close into the middle. Boom. Like this. Let's make the first one blue. Let's make this one white. Let's make this one red. And let's make the last one purple. A bit more dark purple. There we go. What we're going to do is we're going to add an adjustment layer. And we're going to add a turbulent displace. We're going to set the amount to 40. And we're going to change the displacement to vertical displacement. And we're going to also change the size to 1000. And we're going to change the complexity to 10. And we're going to add a motion tile on top of the adjustment layer. And bring it, of course, above the turbulent displace. We're going to set this as high as you need, like 350 and 350. So we hide all the black patches. You can also, I also would like to make this a little bit more dark. And this one a little bit more like this red. I like this. This looks cool. What we're going to do is we're going to hold Alt and select the evolution keyframe. We're going to add a time star 100 to our evolution. We're going to add a CC smear on top of our adjustment layer and set the radius to around 1000. It can also even be more, whatever you wish you like the most. We're going to change the middle one to here and the right one to around here. We're going to copy and paste the CC smear. I'm going to set this one to the right and the middle one to the left or around like this here. We're going to add a twirl to it and set the angle to 60. We're going to also go to the start of our composition and make a keyframe to our smear. We go to around 2 seconds into it. We're going to change this one more to the right and this one more to the middle. A little bit, just like that. And we're going to change the second smear to around here and this one around here. Or like this. This looks also really good in my opinion. So you see we have a subtle movement here, which looks super satisfying. And then you can also change this one like this, and this one also like this. Boom. And go another around 2 seconds in, you can change it again. Whatever you think looks good and you wish to, you know, change it to, just make sure to make it as aesthetically pleasing as you think is good, like this. This looks super cool. It looks super interesting, like visually. It looks super interesting, I guess. And then we're gonna add some effects to it. Just added all the palettes here. You can of course remove the brightness and the contrast if you wish, or also reduce the amount of noise and increase the posterize according to that. And this looks super clean. Yeah, let's do number 11. Almost there. So for background number 11, we're gonna do a new composition with some slightly different settings. So we make the width 5000 by 2813, and we're gonna make it boom. And this is basically the composition settings that we're gonna go for. We're gonna add a solid white background, and we're gonna add some fractal noise on top of our background. So this is what it looks like. We're gonna change the contrast to 165. We're gonna open up the transform, deactivate uniform scaling, and we'll make the scale height to 10,000. Boom, like this. And we're gonna change the sub settings and the sub influence to 20%, or let's make it 25%. And we're gonna change the sub scaling to 10, and we're gonna change the sub rotation to 300 degrees. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add a turbulent displace on top of our background. Set this to 215 and 350. We're gonna set the complexity to 2.5, and we're gonna go to the beginning of our composition, and we're gonna keyframe the offset, and we go to the end of our composition and make the left offset 5000. Looks already really trippy, and we're gonna add some really cool colors to it in a second. So we're gonna add CC toner to our background. Boom. And this looks a little bit, you know, off a little bit. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, but we're gonna change it now. Let's make this Pantone, and let's make the highlights orange. Let's make the brights dark, like black. Let's make this also black, and make the dark tones some sort of blue, like both of them, like this. This looks pretty cool. This one could be more dark. I like this one, like this, I like that. Boom. And what we want to do with this background is we're going to pre-compose this. Let's say it's a map. Boom. Move all attributes in the new composition. Boom. And now what we could do is just change back the composition settings to 1920 by 1080p. Boom. And this is what we got. And now we can basically scale this down until it fits our composition. We can make it 36, 37. No. Yeah, this looks good. And we're going to add a CC glass on top of our composition. Ooh, this looks so cool. And we're going to add some optics compensation as well. And we're going to set up the FOV to around 85, like this. So it loads really slow. But yeah, what the CC glass does is basically it gives that glass look, that really juicy, you know, look at white, the dark on the yellow. Other than that, it would not look this clean. So yeah, and the optic compensation is just changing the FOV so it looks even more aesthetically pleasing, I would say. And this is what it looks like. What we can also do is just add some effects to it, either some glow or some brightness and contrast, and also some noise and posterize. But of course, you can make it as subtle as you want. I think this looks already really good. And with that being said, let's move on to the final 3 backgrounds, and with that to background number 12. I'm not gonna render out all the images because it is a heavy file, and what I suggest to you is always render this effect out, render this specific background out, because this background can take up to an hour, even though it's like 20 seconds or less than 20 seconds. It can take up to a long time to render it out, so just render it out and then use it as a rendered version, as an MP4 file basically, so you don't have any of these rendering issues, these really long rendering issues with this high quality backgrounds. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the brush tool here, and the way we paint on this white solid is basically just going to double click it so a new layer pops up on top of here, and now we can actually paint here. And how we want to paint ultimately is basically choose a black color here, and we're gonna just paint here like this, so it's looking really good like this. We'll still want to add some more black here like this. Just make sure you cover a lot of stuff here. And then we're gonna make a little bit more gray like this, a little bit more like this. Boom. We're gonna change it to white, and we're gonna make also a couple of paintings like this. It's like hard to explain, but you will see in a second why. But yeah, we're gonna go now back to our composition out of the layer, and then we're gonna add a turbulent displace on top of our white solid. We're gonna change this one to 250, and we're gonna keyframe the evolution, bring this one to the end of our composition, and set this to 1x like this. And we're gonna add a motion tile actually to our background. And we can also set this to 200, 200, and mirror the edges. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some liquefy effect on top of our background. And we're gonna set the brush pressure to 100. And we can set the brush size to 300 is cool, I think. Like this. And what we're gonna do now is just basically liquefying all of this here to the bottom. Like this. Ooh, nice. Like this. Like that. However you wish, whatever you think looks cool for you. For example, I would say I like this one right now. So, let me just do it like this. Yeah, I like this one. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add a colorama effect on top of it, so it looks a little bit trippy and really colorful. We're gonna open up output cycle, and we're gonna change the user preset to old glory. And we're gonna change this one. We're gonna change this one at the top to orange, like this. I like that. And at the bottom we can change this one to purple. Oh yeah, this looks so trippy, so cool. Hold on, let me just make this a little bit more blue, more dark. Boom, like this. What we could do now is going back to liquefy and set this one to third, of course, because it's like so high quality. It's going to be like really hard for After Effects. I'm also going to save After Effects before I continue here. And what you're going to do now is you can either just select the liquefy tool again and just move this around as you wish. And you can basically just twirl the liquefy effects around like this. And yeah, just use it how you ever wish. It is up to you. And then just going to change this to full. See how it looks. Oh, this is loading a lot of time. Like, it takes a lot of time to load. So this is what it looks like right now in full. And I would love to render this one out. It has already been done once, and this is what I came up with before. What you could also do is just add some effects to it. For example, some glow, some noise, especially noise, and this posterize is looking really clean on top of this background. So yeah, definitely add some effects to it. And with that being said, this was background number 12, and let's get now started with background number 13. Alright, I really love this background. It is such a beautiful contrast. I think everyone can benefit from having this background gradient, and especially having this background gradient as a project file. So make sure to go to the Discord again, download the project files, and use it for yourself. It is completely free. You just have to join the Discord and basically click on the link in the assets folder. Like here, this is it. This is the link. So yeah, on that note, let's get started with background number 13. What I'm going to do is we're going to add a solid background layer again. We can make this black, whatever color I actually want, because we're using, of course, 4-color gradient again. And boom. What we're going to do is we're going to make this one a little bit more pinkish red, like this. Boom. And we're going to make this one dark purple, really dark purple. This one as well. And this one will be light blue, like this. Boom. What we're gonna do is basically set this one to the middle here, and we're gonna basically keyframe all the points here, and go to the end of our composition, and basically set this back to its original position, and set this one, this here, and this here, this one here. Boom. And we already have a nice background, but we aren't done yet. So after that, After that, we're gonna add a adjustment layer to our composition. We can name this movement if you wish. We're gonna add a CC smear to our adjustment layer. We're gonna set the CC smear up to here, and this one around here or here. Boom. We're gonna set the radius to 1000 and like that. And what we'll do, we'll go to the start of our composition. We're gonna keyframe the from and to in the CC smear, and we'll go to the end of our composition, and we're going to change this a little bit up like this. Hold on, like this, like this. I like that. So it looks like this. Boom. And now we're gonna duplicate the CC smear. We're gonna move this one here, and this one we're gonna move all the way up here. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me just go back to the start. We need to do this here and set this one on top here at the start of our composition. Make sure it's at the start and not at the end, where we basically copied and pasted, so duplicated the CC smear. We go to the end of the composition now, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the CC smear to and set this one here and this one to the right. Like this, around like this. Looks super cool. This looks super nice. Now we're gonna add another motion tile. We're almost there, guys. Motion tile is the clutch. So motion tile, set this at the top, set this to 200, maybe 500 for the height, and we're gonna just mirror the edges for the motion tile. And then we're just gonna mirror the edges, and you will see this is what it looks like. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a turbulent displace on top of our adjustment layer and set this one above our CC smear. We're gonna add a vertical displacement and set the amount to 300 and the size to 150. So it looks around like this. It looks already super clean and super nice. Like, the colors are beautiful. I kid you not. I'm in love with the colors. These look super nice. And we can set the complexity to 10, so it looks almost done. Like, we're almost done. But we're not done yet. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just, we're gonna change up the evolution. So we can just set this one up to high, and then we're gonna hold Alt and then click evolution and make time star. Now we can make it 50. And we can add some glow to it now if you wish to do that, like this. We're gonna just change up the radius a little bit to 700 or something like that. I like that. Before and after, this looks super clean. Yeah, make it a little bit more intense maybe. Yep. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Boom. You can also just remove the noise a little bit if you wish, like a little bit. There we go. Ooh, I love that. I like that. You can also just increase, like, add some brightness and contrast to it as well. Whatever you think looks the best. And now we go to the final background 14. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have our last and final gradient background here. So let's get started. I remove the effect, and I'm gonna add a new white solid background to my composition. What I'm gonna do is add a fractal noise on top of my background. I'm gonna change the fractal type to dynamic progressive. I'm gonna change the complexity to 1. I know it looks a little bit weird. What we're gonna do is also change the evolution. We're gonna hold Alt and click on the keyframe. We're gonna change it to time times 100, like star 100. Boom. Looks like a really old game, or like a texture pack from a game. But yeah, we're gonna pre-compose this background, and we can name this noise. Boom. And what we're gonna do, we added a liquefy effect on top of our pre-composed layer. We're gonna change the warp tool, the brush size to like around 200, whatever. This looks good. And we can make this brush pressure all the way up to 100%. And we're gonna select the tool. It's not working. There we go. Also make sure toggle mask and shape path visibility is on. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just make some mess, basically. Like this. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Looks nice actually. You can also add some twirl into it with the twirl effects. Just, do what you like, do what looks good for you. And if you have any time some of these black patches, you can just fix it by using the liquefy tool as well. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna keyframe the distortion mesh once we're done here. Boom. We can go a couple seconds into here and basically take the tool again and just boom, add some more liquefy to it like this. Boom, boom. Looks really good in my opinion. Like, I really like this pattern. I really like that. And what we're gonna do now is we actually go into the noise, into our noise composition, and we're gonna add a tint on top of it. I'm gonna change this one to, let's say, green. Green looks good. Yeah, let's do orange. Yeah, let's change this to orange, and we can do this one blue, or like this. And if we go back, you will see it is colored already. So if you like the color, you can, have it. Otherwise, you could also just, adjust it as you wish. I think this looks already really good. And we'll change up this a little bit as well. But what I also notice is I haven't been making this really good. Like that. This is good. Okay. I'm gonna also just bring this to the end of my composition, the keyframe here. All right. Cool. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add actually a new solid. Boom. We're gonna go to the brush again. Open up. Double click on the top white solid. So we have this layer opened up. We're gonna change the color to black. Boom. Basically make a smiley and just make like small smileys here as well, like a heart, there we go. And we're gonna change the setting here from paint to paint on transparent and then just turn it on. And we're gonna go out of the layer, and what we're gonna do is gonna add a fill on top of it. And now we're gonna just change up the color to something more dark, like a dark blue or a dark purple, whatever you think looks best for you. And now we go out, and you will see we have a lot of stuff changed. The colors changed almost completely. Like, it looks so cool. And you can see this is what it looks like. What I would do is basically just go back, remove this transparent, open it up, and if you want, you can also just add some more painting to it, and then just enable paint on transparent again on, go out of the layer, and save it, of course. And then you will have more and more space covered with the colored paint in this case. So yeah, and in the end, this is what it looks like. Boom. What you could also do is just change the orange like a little bit, like boom. I like this one more. Yeah, I like this a lot more. This looks way better. And what we could do now is basically add some effects again. So a little bit of glow, some noise looks definitely really good on this background. Bring the posterize up a little bit, bring the noise down just a bit, and yeah, whatever you think looks good and you're a fan of, I'm a fan of too. So create how you like these backgrounds, wherever you like them at. And then yeah, this was the last background. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It is probably a really long tutorial again, because it was 14 backgrounds and we have pretty much just copy and pasted the effect. What I wanted to say is join the Discord, use the channels. I'm active in this Discord. If anyone comes with a question, I'm gonna answer as soon as I see it or as soon as I have time to reply. And what I also plan for Discord is a daily Bible channel. So where I post some daily Bible, some verses or my own experience with the Bible, with God, with my faith into this channel. And this is an open channel where everyone can discuss. And this is not going to be run by a bot. I tested this bot, but I don't like this bot. Let me just kick this one. I don't like the bot. It's just boring, I think. But if you would like to join the Discord, make sure to do so and download the assets. As I said, these will be all for free available throughout the link in the Discord. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and God bless you.